be passionate about what you do. Inspires, whether it's impacting change, whether it's problem solving, whether it's anything, be passionate about it and actually do it from the bottom of your heart, and do find something that you actually really do appreciate.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Voice of African Youths podcast. My name is Titus AB, and I am your host. Today, we are going to be having a very special guest all the way from Kenya, who is joining us on today's podcast. She is a very interesting personality. She's dynamic, she's intelligent, and she is passionate about Africa. And she is no other person but Wachira Wambui. So, a little bit of a backstory here. I got to know her just a couple of weeks ago, but within the short time that I've known her, I think that I've been impressed by her level of committedness to growing as a person and to equally, learning about Africa and to knowing about Africa. So I'm not going to say so much. I'm just going to delve into it, and we are going to start talking to Wachira. So Wachira, how are you doing?
Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm doing fine. Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me to this podcast. Actually, I'm a bit nervous. Thank you, though.
If you were to tell us about, some of the things that have mapped your path as a young African and have brought you to this particular point in your life, what could be those things be? Just a few things that have really kind of refined your life and maybe kind of created part of your story as a young Kenyan. What would those things be?
I come from a family where, how can I say this? Like, the reason as to why I said my life, my education life has been so interesting, even as to reach at this point, it's because I think, well, I say I come from a family where per se they really don't value investing in a lady in terms of education, because eventually they think you just get married off and you'll be gone and that is it and that's your story. So that's much of an investing. To them, it won't be much of an investment. So they really don't believe in that. So as much as I'm growing, as much as I'm here right now, the things that I look forward to is to making myself a better place and to actually educate myself to reach a point that I would actually be an inspiration to someone else who is actually going through the same story. So yes, that the things that I look up to, the things that give me motivation is empowering myself. Yeah, I can say that, empowering myself to actually inspire someone else. Like going to school, being the best you can be, being the best person I can be personally, and just working on myself. Because I believe if I better myself in a way, I'm actually bettering others. So that's what I really believe in.
Yeah, and I think your story is something that other young Africans could equally kind of relate with and connect with on some level, because the whole issue of gender empowerment and female empowerment, most importantly, is something that most African communities have not really come in touch with, and educating the female child in some communities is still like a luxury, that some people consider. When they send a female child to school, they consider that it is a luxury, and some consider a luxury that they cannot afford to even do, but it's something that is very necessary and very instrumental. So yeah, tell us about Kenya. You're a young African, you're a young Kenyan, and I'm sure most of the viewers of this particular podcast will be interested in knowing one or two things about Kenya. So yeah, tell us something about Kenya that we do not know.
Well, thank you so much. Kenya is a very interesting country. Well, Kenya is home to great leaders like the former US President Barack Obama. We have the Oscar award-winning Lupita Nyong'o. We also have great actors and great influencers based here in Kenya. The likes of Kate actress and Aziad Nasenya. Aziad Nasenya is actually a very young African, and she's making moves, and I actually look up to her. She's sort of my mentor. And we also have great comedians like Mushiri Mike. I'm talking about all these content creators because I also am a content creator, and I'm also a YouTuber. Find inspiration from them quite a lot. We also have Goge Wathiongo, who is an author. He writes books in Kikuyu, which have actually been translated to English. I'm mentioning him because I really find inspiration in his books, or rather, I find a cultural a point of reference to refer from my culture, that is the Kikuyu culture and the Kikuyu tribe. Well, also a thing to know about Kenya is Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya, has a national park at its heart. Like when you go to Nairobi, you can actually visit the national park. That is the Nairobi National Park. And speaking about safaris and national parks and wildlife, Kenya is among the known wildlife destinations. Like it's the tourism destination. So Kenya is a very interesting country. We have white sandy beaches that are among the top in Africa. Mm-hmm. We have 42 tribes and 47 counties in Africa, and we have a lot.
If I could let you go, you're just going to keep going and keep going.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
One thing I can draw from that answer is there's a lot of diversity. We possess a lot of diversity here in Africa. And that diversity, sometimes it does contribute to make us really special. Of course, it makes us really special, but also the fact that we have a lot of diversity causes us to kind of conflict amongst ourselves sometimes because of difference of opinions, difference of views on different issues and things like that. And that's rather an unfortunate happening. So today we really want to talk about youth leadership and youth apathy towards leadership. And before we delve into the bits of the matter, I would like to ask you, what is your understanding of youth leadership? What do you think youth leadership is in an African context as an African youth?
Well, not to talk much about it. Okay, in short words, in very few words, I can say youth leadership is it's all about reinventing and reimagining ways to actually move forward or to actually better your country, or better, because come to think of it, the way that the country is right now is not, let me just give an example with Kenya. Like the way Kenya is at the moment is not the same as it was 30 years ago. And the youth that were back then, okay, the current leaders were the back then youth leaders, and they came up with ways to actually lead Kenya, and that is why Kenya is currently at its current state, or rather. So our job as the current youth at the moment is actually to reimagine and to reinvent ways to take our countries to greater levels. So that is basically my take on that.
That is that's wonderful. I think if I could pull out one or a summary of your answer there, it's all about sustainability, looking at ways to move forward into the future while harnessing the resources that we have in the present, while harnessing the potential that we have in the present, and everything that we do have in the present. Equally looking at our past, because that's very important. So in your opinion, do you think it's fair to say that that the average African youth is generally apathetic towards issues such as leadership and politics and development in Africa? Because most young people will agree or say that that is the case. So what do you think about African youth's reaction or action towards leadership, development, and politics?
Okay, talking about leadership apathy, I think it's true to some point. It's majorly true because most to my understanding, or to what I have really learned and seen, not everyone is aware, or not everyone really knows they have the power to make change or to impact change as young, when they're really young. So people really have, or rather they think that you have to have been you must be a certain age to actually impact change, and in that way they end up overlooking, or I'm also an African youth, so I can't really say so let me just say we end up overlooking, and we end up thinking that we can't really make a change. So that's why there isn't, yes, there are leaders who actually try to, but it's not as many as they could be, because I am sure there are quite a lot of youth African leaders in the countries. So I think it's mostly because of that. We don't think we are enough to make or to impact change. That's my take.
Yeah. I think what mostly you've spoken and touched some very interesting issues right there, and it kind of reminds me back of my experience in Egypt at the World Youth Forum. One thing that I noticed was young people were very engaged with running the conference. In fact, it was like the whole forum was basically run by young Africans, and although that was somehow the case in Rwanda as well, it is really not the case in Cameroon, where I come from. Young people have very little levels of interest towards development and towards politics and towards leadership. I don't know if it's because they think that they don't have the capacity, or it's because the various actors are not playing their role to make sure that different demographics are involved in youth leadership. So do you think that everyone is playing their role to make sure that young people are engaged and are interested in issues of leadership? Do you think that it exists a situation where everyone is playing their fair role?
Well, here in Kenya, we have for example, when you want to vie for leadership in the Kenyan government, in areas like the MCA or being a member of parliament, actually a Kenyan youth can actually vie majorly. Okay, I'm talking about the age, the eligibility requirement. So as young as 21, you can actually vie for a seat. So I think in Kenya, it's a start. It's a start because, in matters economic development, I've really not heard of opportunities in youth. I don't know if they think youth don't have experience, of which I really think it's quite necessary. But I think in Kenya, I think it's a start, but we can do better. We can do better. Youth involvement is actually a requirement, and it's a necessity, because in that way, by the time they're becoming leaders, they're older, they'll have experience, and then they'll have the know-how to actually do things based on actually experiencing it other than theoretically. So I think it's a start, or I think it's starting.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and it's important for us to understand that growth is a process that we must embark on, and it's a journey that we all must take. If you look at design thinking, it's actually a concept. It does outline that if you are designing a solution for somebody, if you are designing a solution to address a particular problem for somebody, then that person should be part of the process of the design of that solution. And so if Africans and if African leaders are designing solutions or creating communities for young people to thrive in, or for young people to thrive in when they're older, the young people really absolutely have to be part of the process of ideating the solutions. And so in my opinion, I believe that African leaders who are currently in power should play more of an important role in bringing young people and encouraging them to partake in this. But I like your take on that. So have you ever traveled outside of Kenya? Have you left your country before?
No, not yet.
Okay, so
I've not
would
yet
you like to travel out of Kenya though?
Oh yes, I would.
Okay. So which countries do you like to visit?
I would love to travel. Well, given a chance, I would actually go to all 54 countries, but let me just narrow down to maybe each region. Let me start in the East African region, I'd love to go to Rwanda because it seems like a very interesting country. I mean, being the nature fanatic that I am, I'd love to go see the land of 1,000 hills. And Rwanda is actually a pioneer in quite a number of things in Africa. So I just love to go and see how they actually do their things. It being the cleanest city, cleanest country in Africa, and being actually one of the smallest countries. So I'd really love to go to Rwanda. And in North Africa, I'd love to go to Egypt, because Egypt is quite an interesting country, given its history, its facts, and I'm a history diehard fan. I love history. I just love history. So I'd love to go to Egypt. And in West Africa, let me say I'd love to go to Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria. Yeah, so such countries. Reason being, Senegal, I would love to go see the tallest statue in Africa. It's called the Africa Renaissance. Yeah. And actually, I was just surfing through Facebook the other day, and I saw where the slaves were being taken captive. They were actually being loaded on docks. Mm-hmm. It was called the door of no return, about 400 years ago. So I'd love to go see that. And Southern Africa, I'd say about South Africa, it being among the few second world countries in Africa. And yeah, South Africa, let me say Botswana. There's this tribe where it says that they're the oldest tribe in the entire world. I think it's the Khoisan or the Khoikhoi, if I'm not wrong. And they are found in Southern Africa. So I'd love to go and learn more about that. In Central Africa, I'd say
Cameroon.
DRC Congo. Yeah. DRC Congo. I was to head over to Cameroon because I hear about the landscape. The landscape, it's quite magical and quite, so yeah. That is my take. Those are the few countries I'd love to visit.
Oh, nice. So amongst the 54 African countries, which are your top 5? And you could use your own metric of classification. It doesn't have to be the best or the most interesting or the most awesome or the most beautiful. Define your own metric of classification. Which are your top 5 countries?
Rwanda, because of the earlier mentioned reasons. Mm-hmm. It's just an amazing country. I'd love to visit. Well, apart from Kenya, I'm speaking about these top 5 countries. So yeah, Rwanda. There's Rwanda. We have Tanzania. I have Tanzania because Tanzania was actually founded on the basis of communism. Is there any other country in Africa that was founded on the basis of communism? So I would really love
much about that.
Just as in, okay, they so they have ujamaa. It's called ujamaa in Swahili, where people just live in they live like brothers and sisters. That is how I really see like communism. That is how I really understand communism, because ujamaa. So it's a very interesting concept. I'd just love to see how they work things out. I'd also love to go to another country I really love here in Kenya. In Africa is Ethiopia. Ethiopia. I think it's a really interesting country based on culture and cuisines. So yeah, that's just the few countries.
Okay, we are slowly coming to the end of our conversation here, and I'd like to ask if you have any closing remarks or closing statements on the issue of youth apathy, when it concerns politics, when it concerns leadership, and when it concerns development in Africa? Any closing remarks?
Any closing remarks? I'll just say, be passionate about what you do. In spite, whether it's impacting change, whether it's problem solving, whether it's anything, be passionate about it and actually do it from the bottom of your heart, and do find something that you actually really do appreciate, such that when you're 50 and you look back and you will you be proud of the things you've done? Will it spark memories, or will you be happy in short of the life you've lived? So I would say, you be happy, choose something that you're passionate about, don't feel pressured. And another thing I would say is, know yourself. There's no way you'll impact change, there's no way you'll solve problems in Africa if you actually don't know yourself and you don't work on yourself. And I really root for such, because it's something that people overlook. It's something that a person may overlook. Like, you don't pay attention to yourself. How are you? Are you really okay? Even pay attention to your mental state. Like, just love yourself first before you actually give it to others. In that way, you'll find yourself. If you give attention to yourself, you'll actually glow on the insides. And if you're glowing on the insides, that is basically what you give outside. So work on yourself, pay attention to mental health. Here in Kenya, actually, after the pandemic, mental health issues started rising. We had cases of suicide. We had cases of people, they had mental issues. There was depression. So a lot of emphasis has been put here in Kenya in matters mental health, and people are urged to speak out. If you're not okay, just speak to someone. Just make sure you are okay, starting by yourself. So yeah, those are the only few remarks I would give. And I would say that no dream is too big. Aim for the moon. When you fall, you'll fall on the sky. So no dream is too big if you only work for it. So work, and pay attention to yourself. So yeah,
that is some profound stuff right there. And it's like, I want to get into a whole other conversation, asking you tons of questions about all of that, because it's like you pull the conversation to a whole different extent, or to a whole different kind of circle, talking about self-care, talking about mental health. And I think that those are discussions that really should be had and sustained, because pushing those aside doesn't really solve the problem. But I believe that when you're able to introspect, and when you're able to deeply reflect on your identity, who you are as an individual, only then can you be able to create any form of impact or build anything that is going to amount to any form of influence in someone else's life. It is commonly the case that they say that you cannot pour from an empty cup. So it is necessary for young Africans to try to fill themselves.
Yeah.
And self-care, self-love is a very important aspect of that. So thank you so much, Wachira. It was a very wonderful interview here, talking with you. And where can we find you on the internet? Where can we find you? Because I'm sure all young people on the internet these days.
Yeah. Well, you can find me on Wachira __. That is 2 underscores. Wambui, Wachira __ Wambui on TikTok and on Instagram, and on Facebook I'm at Wachira Wambui. I also have a YouTube channel. I post videos on Shira Creates. Yeah, those are my handles. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you to Wachira, and have a wonderful rest of your day.